words every single day, thinking they make you sound strong. But with every syllable, you are voluntarily hammering iron nails into your own coffin. There is a silent virus infecting the modern mind. It isn't a lack of education. It isn't a low IQ. It is a linguistic parasite. A very specific set of phrases engineered by your own brain to protect you from the agonizing pain of actually growing. Listen to me carefully. Stupidity is not a biological condition you are born with. Stupidity is a defensive choice. It is a heavy rusted armor worn entirely by cowards to avoid the brutal friction of reality. I have existed long enough to watch great kings lose entire continents to these exact phrases. And now I sit across this table and watch you completely sabotage your Tuesday mornings, your relationships and your destiny with the exact same pathetic words. You think you are protecting your ego, but you are slowly committing intellectual suicide. Welcome to the archive. Subscribe to Shadow Therapy, pull up a chair and sit down. We are going to open the book and we are going to read the first chapter of your self-destruction. Look at this book on the table between us. Look at the rotting leather, the thick layer of dust. This is the lexicon of the dead mind. It contains the exact phrases that keep men weak, poor, and utterly forgettable. Let us open it. Hear that sound, the cracking of dry ancient paper. Chapter 1, the most dangerous, toxic, and universally accepted phrase in the history of human language. That is just the way I am. Read those words. Let them sit in the air. People say this with pride. They say it with their chests puffed out, as if they are defending some sacred, immovable fortress of their personality. They believe that by claiming this is just who I am, they are demonstrating authenticity. They think they are setting a boundary, but I'm going to rip that illusion apart right now. When you say, that is just the way I am, you are not being authentic. You are declaring absolute, unconditional surrender. You are signing a contract with mediocrity. Thousands of years ago, the Greek philosopher Heraclitus stood by the rushing water and gave us a fundamental truth of the universe. He said, no man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man. The universe is built on a single, terrifying law, absolute continuous motion. The suit are burning out and forming anew. The tectonic plates beneath your feet are shifting. Your own body is entirely replacing its cellular structure every few years. The blood in your veins is flowing. Everything that is alive is in a constant state of violent, beautiful transformation. And yet you, with your fragile little ego, look at this magnificent, ever-changing cosmos, and you have the blinding arrogance to say, no, I am finished. My personality is set in stone. I am concrete. All right, let's drop the heavy philosophy for a second. Look at me. Let's bring this right down to the kitchen table. Think about your actual life. Think about the argument you had a few days ago. Maybe it was with your partner. Maybe it was with your boss, or maybe it was just a conflict with a friend. You lost your temper. You said something sharp, something toxic, something you knew deep down was completely unnecessary. And when they confronted you about it, when they looked at you and asked for a little bit of empathy, a little bit of emotional regulation, what did you do? Did you look inward? Did you do the hard, painful work of analyzing your own shadow? No. You crossed your arms, you got defensive, and you threw up the ultimate coward's shield. You said, look, I just have a short temper. That's just how I am. Take it or leave it. Do you see what you did there? You used your identity as an excuse to be lazy. Regulating your emotions takes immense psychological calories. Evolving past your childhood traumas requires painful, exhausting, silent work. But shrugging your shoulders and saying, that's just me, is completely free. It requires 0 calories. You are using the concept of personality as a hiding place. You are using it as a bunker to avoid the terrifying responsibility of becoming better. I need you to visualize what you are actually doing to your brain when you adopt this phrase. Science has proven neuroplasticity. Your brain is not a rigid computer. It is a living, breathing network of physical pathways that can be physically rewired until the day you die. It is like wet clay. But every single time you say, "I am just not a morning person," or "I am just naturally anxious," or "I just have a bad temper," you are pouring a drop of cold, heavy, grey liquid concrete directly into the folds of your own brain. Imagine it, a thick, suffocating grey sludge seeping into your neural pathways. Every time you refuse to adapt, the concrete hardens, it dries, it calcifies. Over the years, you slowly build a solid, brittle, grey tomb inside your own skull. You become a fossil while you are still breathing. And what happens to concrete when the tectonic plates of reality inevitably shift? What happens to a rigid, unbending structure when the earthquake hits? It doesn't adapt. It doesn't bend like a tree in the wind. It shatters. It cracks. It falls to pieces. That is why the men who refuse to change are always the most fragile. They look tough on the outside, defending their authenticity, but the moment the market changes, the moment their relationship demands a higher level of maturity, the moment life hits them with a hammer, they completely shatter because they have lost the ability to flow. I see you. I know exactly how this poison leaks into the rest of your life. It doesn't just stop at your personality. It infects your ambition. I see you sitting at your desk looking at the business you want to start or the skill you want to learn. You try it for 3 days. You experience the agonizing, deeply uncomfortable friction of being a beginner. You feel stupid. You feel incompetent. The code doesn't work. The writing is terrible. The video gets 0 views. And right there, in that dark moment of friction, the virus activates. Your ego whispers the comfortable lie. I guess I'm just not an entrepreneur. I guess I just don't have a creative brain. I'm just not a numbers guy. You take a temporary lack of skill and you fatally misdiagnose it as a permanent personality trait. You confuse a lack of repetitions with a lack of destiny. It is the most tragic magic trick in the world. You magically transform your laziness into an identity. And once you make it your identity, you never have to try again. You are safe, you are comfortable, and you are entirely, hopelessly dead inside. We must look to Carl Jung. We must look at the process of individuation. Jung knew that you are not a single solid block of wood. You are a chaotic, terrifying mess of fragmented potential. You contain the hero, the coward, the tyrant, and the beggar all at once. Your duty in this life is not to find out who you are and defend it. Your duty is to violently, relentlessly sculpt what you could be. Imagine yourself as a massive block of raw, uncut marble, and imagine that you are also holding the heavy iron hammer and the sharp steel chisel. When you find a flaw in yourself, a sharp temper, a lazy habit, a cowardly instinct, you do not point at it and say, "Well, that is just part of the stone." No, you take the heavy iron hammer, you place the sharp edge of the chisel directly against the floor, and you swing. Does it hurt? Yes. It is excruciating. Chipping away parts of your own identity is a form of psychological death. You are killing the weak version of yourself so the strong version can breathe. It requires you to bleed. But if you look back at who you were exactly 1 year ago today, and you do not feel a deep, visceral sense of embarrassment at how naive, weak, and unevolved you were, then you have wasted a year of your life. You have been pouring concrete. So here is your prescription. Right here, at this table. Tomorrow, or maybe even an hour from now, you are going to face a moment of friction. Someone is going to ask you to change your behavior, or you are going to fail at a task. I know exactly what your brain is going to do. You are going to take a deep breath, and you are going to feel that phrase rising in the back of your throat. You are going to want to say, "That's just the way I am." When you feel those words on your tongue, I want you to feel a physical, burning sensation in your throat. I want you to remember this dark room, I want you to remember the grey concrete. I command you to swallow those words, choke on them if you have to, force them back down into your stomach, and instead you will look the world in the eye, and you will say, I am struggling with this right now, but I can adapt, I can evolve. You must become water, you must break the fossil, you must stop defending the corpse of who you were yesterday, and start fighting for the ghost of who you could become tomorrow. The first lie is burned. The illusion of concrete is dead, but do not relax. The ego has many more masks. Watch the ash fall. Listen to the silence. It is time to turn the page. It is time to read the second chapter. The Anthem of the Victim. Watch the ash from the first chapter fall. The illusion of the concrete personality is being burned away, but you must understand the architecture of your own ego. The ego is a hydra. You cut off one head and another immediately grows in its place. It will not surrender easily. It will desperately search for a new hiding place, a new excuse to justify why you are exactly where you are today. Let us turn the heavy, rotting page of this book. Listen to the friction of the paper. We have arrived at chapter 2. This is the anthem of the victim, the battle cry of the defeated man. They just got lucky. The game is rigged. It is all about who you know. I want you to let those words echo in the silence of this room. This phrase is the ultimate psychological anesthetic. It is a highly engineered synthetic drug created by your brain to completely numb the agonizing pain of your own mediocrity. Think about the mechanical function of this phrase. Why do you use it? Because if you admit that the man who built the empire, or achieved the physique, or cultivated the unshakable mindset did it through brutal, relentless, unforgiving discipline, then you are forced to look at your own reflection. You are forced to admit that while he was bleeding, while he was starving for his vision, you were sitting on the couch playing video games and feeding your brain cheap digital garbage. That realization is a crushing weight. Your ego would shatter under that gravity. So, to protect you from the horror of your own laziness, the brain invents a fairy tale. It invents the concept of luck. It creates a fictional matrix of conspiracies. It tells you that the successful man had rich parents, or he cheated the system, or the universe simply handed him a golden ticket while you were unfairly ignored. If success is just a lottery, then your failure is not your fault. You absolve yourself of all sins. You get to remain a beggar, but you get to feel morally superior about it. It is a pathetic, brilliant illusion. Let us bring this down to reality. Look at me. Take a sip of that dark wine in your hand. Feel the heavy crystal glass against your fingers. We are sitting at this table, human to human. Let's talk about what happens when you open your phone. You are scrolling through the infinite digital feed. You see someone your exact age. They are driving the car you want. They are standing on the property you dream of owning. They are living the exact sovereign reality that you secretly crave in the deepest, darkest corners of your heart. I know exactly what happens in your body in that microscopic fraction of a second. You feel a heavy, dark knot twist in your stomach. It is a surge of envy wrapped in the cold sweat of inadequacy, and before you even have time to process the emotion, your brain injects the anesthetic. You mutter to yourself, well, it's easy for him. He probably had funding. He got lucky with the algorithm. It's all fake anyway. You take a sip of the wine, you exhale, you feel a little bit better, don't you? The tension leaves your shoulders. You have successfully dismissed his 10 years of unseen, agonizing labor in 10 seconds of arrogant dismissal. You have protected your fragile identity, but I am here to tell you the brutal truth. That feeling in your stomach, that is a disease. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche diagnosed this exact disease over a century ago. He called it resentment, the resentment of the weak against the strong. Nietzsche understood that when a weak man cannot achieve greatness, his ego performs a dark, twisted magic trick. He flips the moral compass upside down. He begins to view his own weakness, his own poverty, and his own lack of ambition as virtues. He tells himself, "I am not rich, but that is because I am an honest man. The rich are evil. Therefore my failure makes me a saint." This is the morality of a slave. It is the psychological architecture of a parasite. You are using your own lack of execution as a badge of honor. You are building a kingdom entirely out of excuses, and you are proudly sitting on a throne of garbage. I need you to visualize what this resentment actually looks like inside of you. Imagine it not as a thought, but as a physical infection. Imagine a black, rotting tooth buried deep in your jaw. Every time you look at someone else's success and whisper, "They got lucky," you are biting down hard on that rotting tooth. You feel the sharp electric shock of pain. You taste the dark, metallic blood of envy in your mouth. You chew on this poison day after day, year after year. And the supreme irony, the absolute tragedy of this disease, is that you are biting down on this rotting tooth, enduring the agonizing pain, and hoping that the other person dies from it. You are drinking poison and expecting the emperor to choke. He does not care about your resentment. He does not even know you exist. While you are sitting in the dark, analyzing his success and searching for flaws to critique, he is awake at 4 in the morning, striking the anvil, forging his empire, and pulling further and further ahead into a reality you will never touch. You are bleeding your precious, finite time into the void, obsessing over a game you refuse to play. We must invoke the iron discipline of the Stoics. We must return to Epictetus and the absolute law of the dichotomy of control. The Stoic does not look at the neighbor's harvest. The Stoic does not look at the sky and complain about the rain. The Stoic understands that there are only 2 categories in the entire universe: things you can control and things you cannot. Did the man on the screen have a head start? Maybe. Did he have richer parents, perhaps? Is the economy rigged? Does the algorithm favor certain faces? Does luck exist? Yes. And it is completely, entirely irrelevant. Every second you spend calculating the unfair advantages of another human being is a second stolen from your own empire. You are standing in the middle of a torrential downpour, screaming at the clouds for being unfair, while the man next to you is silently, coldly building a roof. The clouds do not care about your screams. The universe is terrifyingly indifferent to your sense of justice. It only responds to the heavy physical force you exert upon it. I see you. I see the hesitation in your eyes. I know the defense mechanism is triggering again. You want to argue with me. You want to bring up statistics. You want to tell me about a specific situation where you were genuinely, undeniably screwed over by the system. Stop. Look directly at me. Put the glass down. Even if you are 100% right. Even if the game is rigged against you in every conceivable way. What is your strategy? What is the tactical advantage of complaining? Does crying about the unfairness of the board put gold in your vault? Does it put muscle on your frame? Does it build the discipline required to break the chains? No, it just makes you a highly educated, statistically accurate, perfectly justified loser. You must adopt a philosophy of extreme tyrannical sovereignty. If you are born at the bottom of a dark, freezing pit, you do not sit in the mud and write a highly detailed essay about how unfair the pit is. You do not critique the climbing technique of the men who are already at the top. You sink your bare, bleeding hands into the cold stone. You tear your fingernails. You climb in absolute silence. And if you fall, you do not blame gravity. You blame the weakness of your own grip. Here is your micro-challenge. The next time you open your phone, the next time you walk down the street and see someone who has achieved the exact thing you secretly desire, the black tooth will throb, the resentment will rise in your chest. The words, "they got lucky," will form on your tongue. I want you to physically bite your own lip. I want you to force your brain to rewire in real time. You will look at that success. You will swallow your bitter, toxic pride, and you will say out loud, "They worked harder than me. They executed while I slept." It will feel like swallowing broken glass. Your ego will scream in agony. It will feel like a humiliating defeat. But on the other side of that pain is the ultimate liberation, because the moment you acknowledge that their success was born from brutal effort, you realize that you possess the exact same raw material. You realize that the door is not locked, it is just heavy, and all you have to do is push. Visual/audio cue reaches out and grips the heavy, dusty page of chapter 2. He tears it from the binding with a loud, violent rip. He holds it over the candle until it turns to black ash. The anthem of the victim is silenced. The illusion of luck is dead. But the lexicon is thick. There are still words you use to camouflage your fear. We have dealt with the defense of the past and the defense of circumstance. Now we must confront the defense of the intellect. Listen to the silence. Prepare yourself. We're turning the page to chapter 3. The arrogance of ignorance. Watch the ash from the second chapter settle on the heavy oak table between us. We have burned the illusion of the victim. We have stripped away the excuse of circumstance. But do not underestimate the architecture of your own ego. When the ego is cornered, when it can no longer blame the past or the system for its failures, it retreats to its highest, most heavily fortified tower. It retreats into the intellect. Listen to the dry, cracking sound of the rotting paper as we turn the page. We have arrived at chapter 3, the arrogance of ignorance. There is a phrase consisting of just 5 words that has the power to instantly paralyze human evolution. It is a linguistic steel door slamming shut in the face of the universe. Read the heavy black ink on the page before you. I already know that. I want you to sit in the silence of this dark archive and let those words echo in your skull. I already know that. You say this constantly. You say it when a mentor tries to correct your form. You say it when a book challenges your worldview. You say it in your own mind when a fundamental truth about discipline is presented to you. Your brain instantly categorizes the information as redundant, wraps it in a layer of absolute arrogance, and discards it. You believe that by claiming you already possess the knowledge, you are demonstrating intelligence. You think you are projecting competence and authority. But I am looking right through you when you say, "I already know that." You are not displaying mastery. You are displaying a profound, terrifying fragility. You are desperately holding on to the illusion of a full cup because you are absolutely terrified of the void that comes with being a beginner. Thousands of years ago, the Oracle of Delphi declared Socrates to be the wisest man in all of Athens. When Socrates heard this, he was deeply confused. He looked around at the politicians, the poets, and the craftsmen who claimed to possess vast, impenetrable knowledge of the cosmos and human nature. He examined their minds and found them bloated with unearned confidence, and then he realized the terrifying truth of the oracle's prophecy. Socrates was the wisest man alive for one single brutal reason. He was the only man who possessed the psychological sovereignty to look into the vast, terrifying abyss of the unknown and say, "I know that I know nothing." His wisdom was not an accumulation of facts. His wisdom was an empty, hungry vessel. He weaponized his own ignorance. But look at the modern man. Look at the absolute tragedy of your generation. You do the exact opposite. You live in an era where the entirety of human knowledge is accessible through a glowing rectangle of glass in your pocket, and instead of making you a philosopher, it has turned you into an arrogant, bloated intellectual tourist. You watch a 10-minute video essay on geopolitics, and you suddenly believe you can debate a general. You read 2 quotes by Marcus Aurelius over a dramatic cinematic background, and you believe you have mastered Stoicism. You consume the absolute shallowest layer of a concept, and your ego instantly builds a fragile, paper-thin fortress around it, proudly hanging a banner that says, "I already know this. Let us bring this down from the philosophical clouds. Look at me across this table. Take a sip of the dark wine in your crystal glass. Feel the cold air of this room. Let's talk about what happens in your everyday life on a random Thursday afternoon. You are sitting in a meeting, or you are having dinner with a friend, or you are speaking to someone who actually has the results you claim to want. They start explaining a concept to you. They are trying to hand you a piece of raw, bleeding truth. I know exactly what your brain does in that moment. You do not listen. You do not absorb the words. You do not let the concept penetrate your armor. Instead, you simply wait for your turn to speak. Your mind is frantically searching its own shallow archives for a related fact, a trivia point, or a counter-argument, just so you can interrupt them and prove that you are already on their level. You nod your head aggressively, you wave your hand, and you say, Yeah, I know, I read an article about that. Why do you do this? Why do you voluntarily reject the golden water being poured into your hands? Because to sit in absolute silence, to look another human being in the eye and say, I do not understand, please teach me, feels like a physical submission. It feels like standing completely naked in a freezing wind. Your ego views the position of the student as a position of weakness. Your ego would rather protect the illusion of your competence than actually acquire the tools necessary to build your empire. You are choosing to be right over being rich. You are choosing to look smart over actually becoming dangerous. I need you to visualize the visceral physical reality of what you are doing to your own mind. In Zen Buddhism, there is the famous metaphor of the overflowing teacup. But let us translate that into the dark, heavy reality of shadow therapy. Imagine your skull. Imagine your mind not as a clean, beautiful porcelain cup, but as a heavy, rusted iron cauldron. Over the years, you have filled this cauldron to the absolute brim with stagnant, rotten, grey water. This water is made of cheap dopamine, sensationalized headlines, half-read articles, toxic social media debates, and the completely unearned confidence of the digital age. Your cauldron is bloated. The grey, foul-smelling water is right at the edge. Now imagine that a true master or a piece of profound, life-altering philosophy approaches you. They are holding a crystal pitcher of pure, glowing, radiant golden wine. This is the truth that could actually cure your mediocrity. They tilt the pitcher and begin to pour the golden liquid directly into your mind. But what happens? Your cauldron is already full of grey sludge. The golden wine hits the surface and immediately violently spills over the rusted iron edges, splashing onto the cooled floor and washing down the drain. Not a single drop of the golden liquid can enter your mind because there is simply no space for it. You are completely, hopelessly bloated with cheap information, yet you are starving to death for actual wisdom. The man who says, I already know that, is a drowning man who refuses to grab the life preserver because he claims he has already read a book about swimming. If you already know everything, I have a very simple, brutal question for you. Look at the shadows dancing on the wall of this archive. Look at the reality of your own life. If your mental map of the world is so incredibly accurate, if you truly already possess the knowledge required to succeed, then why is your life so painfully, remarkably average? If you already know how to build the business, where is the empire? If you already know how to build the physique, why are you tired and weak? If you already know the principles of Stoicism, why do you lose your temper and collapse into anxiety the moment a minor inconvenience disrupts your day? The gap between what you claim to know and the reality of your execution is the exact size of your self-deception. Knowing the path and walking the path are two fundamentally different universes. You have memorized the map, but you have never stepped foot in the freezing, dark, terrifying forest. To build the empire, to take the obsidian throne, you must commit a murder. You must violently, ruthlessly murder the expert inside your own head. You must drag the arrogant, know-it-all intellectual tourist out into the courtyard of your mind and execute him without mercy. You must become the eternal apprentice. You must fall in love with the absolute crushing vulnerability of the white belt. True power does not come from pretending you have no blind spots. True power, predatory power, comes from exposing your blind spots to the harsh, unforgiving light of reality and doing the humiliating work of fixing them. When a sovereign king walks into a room, he does not speak to prove his intelligence. He does not interrupt the blacksmith to explain how a hammer works. He sits in absolute, terrifying silence. He observes, he extracts every single drop of usable data from the environment. He absorbs the golden liquid, and he leaves the room infinitely more dangerous than when he entered. He weaponizes his own silence. The weak man talks to protect his ego. The dangerous man listens to build his armory. Here is your micro-challenge. The hourglass is flipping. Tomorrow, the universe is going to test you. You're going to be in a conversation. Someone is going to start explaining a concept to you, a piece of software, a historical event, or a business strategy. Your brain will instantly recognize the topic. The rusted cauldron will bubble. The phrase, "I already know that," will rise in the back of your throat like bile. Your ego will scream at you to interrupt them, to finish their sentence, to prove your intellectual dominance in the room. I command you to choke on your own expertise. I want you to physically bite your tongue. You will close your mouth. You will maintain absolute unbroken eye contact. And instead of throwing up your shield of fake knowledge, you will say 3 terrifying words. Tell me more. It will feel agonizing. Your ego will feel like it is shrinking. It will feel like you are losing a battle. Endure that burn. Let the ego starve in the dark, because in that exact moment of chosen vulnerability, you are dumping the stagnant grey water out of the iron cauldron. You are creating the void, and only in that void can the golden wine of actual dangerous mastery be poured. Watch my hands. I am reaching across the heavy oak table. I am gripping the thick, dusty page of chapter 3. Listen to the violent tear as I rip it from the binding of the Lexicon. I hold it over the flickering flame of the candle. The paper curls, the ink blisters, and the arrogance of ignorance goes up in bright orange fire, turning into dark, weightless ash that floats away into the shadows of the archive. The third lie is dead, but the Hydra has another head. We must go deeper into the cold, apathetic darkness of the modern mind. Prepare yourself, finish your wine. We are turning the heavy page to chapter 4. The shield of fake apathy. Watch the ash from the 3rd chapter dissolve into the shadows of this archive. We have murdered the illusion of your expertise. We have shattered the rusted cauldron of your arrogance. But the ego is a desperate, shape-shifting creature. When it can no longer pretend to be a victim, and when it can no longer hide behind a mask of fake intellectual superiority, it resorts to its darkest, coldest, and most tragic defense mechanism. It decides to freeze the entire nervous system. Listen to the heavy, agonizing friction of the ancient paper as we turn to the next page of the Lexicon. Feel the temperature in this room drop. The air is suddenly thin. We have arrived at chapter 4, the shield of fake apathy. There's a phrase that has infected your generation like a modern plague. It is a phrase whispered in the dark, muttered after failures, and typed into glowing screens. Read the heavy Gothic ink bleeding onto the page. I don't care. What does it matter anyway? I want you to sit in the freezing silence of this room and let those words wrap around your throat. I don't care. You wear this phrase like a leather jacket. You use it as a badge of honor. You have convinced yourself that caring is a sign of weakness, that enthusiasm is cringe, and that the ultimate display of modern power is to remain completely, ironically detached from your own existence. You look at the men who are obsessed, the men who are bleeding for their art, the men who are desperately trying to build an empire, and you mock them. You sit in the bleachers of life, scrolling through your feed, and you think you are superior because you are not sweating. You think your apathy makes you untouchable, but I am looking directly through your ribcage. When you say, I don't care, you are not displaying strength. You are displaying the absolute rock-bottom pinnacle of psychological cowardice. You are terrified. You are so paralyzed by the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, and the fear of looking foolish, that you have preemptively decided to kill your own soul. just so the world cannot hurt it. To understand this sickness, we must look back at the philosophers of dark romanticism, and we must understand the terrifying gravity of nihilism. The Romantics understood that to be alive is to feel the agonizing, magnificent weight of existence. They knew that a heart is meant to be broken, to be burned, to be stretched to its absolute limits. But then came the shadow of nihilism, the whisper that nothing means anything, that all effort is dust and that the universe is just a cold, empty void. Modern society has taken this dark philosophy and turned it into a cheap digital aesthetic. You live in a culture that rewards you for being numb. If you try to build a business and it fails, the culture laughs at you. If you tell someone you love them and they reject you, the culture calls you a fool. So your ego, desperate to survive this brutal social arena, builds a massive, impenetrable wall of ice. It tells you that if you never try, you can never fail. If you never care, you can never be broken. You choose the safety of the freezer over the danger of the fire. Let us drop the heavy philosophy. Look across this dusty oak table. Look directly into my eyes. Take a sip of the dark wine from your crystal glass and let the alcohol warm your throat, because we are about to dissect your actual everyday reality. Let's bring this right down to the kitchen table. Think about a recent moment in your life where you felt the sting of disappointment. Maybe you launched a creative project, a video, a piece of writing, or a business idea that you secretly spent weeks polishing in the dark. You finally pushed it out into the world, your heart pounding in your chest, hoping for validation. And the universe responded with absolute crushing silence. 3 likes, 0 sales, no comments. I know exactly what you did in the seconds following that realization. You felt a sharp, breathtaking stab of humiliation in your chest. The heat rose to your face, and before you could even process the grief of that minor failure, your ego slammed the emergency blast door shut. You leaned back in your chair, let out a forced, cynical laugh and said, "Whatever, it was just a test anyway. I didn't even put that much effort into it. Who cares?" Lie. Absolute, pathetic, cowardly lie. You cared deeply. You cared so much that the silence almost broke you. But instead of sitting in that pain, instead of allowing the humiliation to forge you into a sharper, more dangerous weapon, you chose to anesthetize yourself. You injected the venom of fake apathy directly into your own veins. You do this in your relationships too. You meet someone, you feel the terrifying spark of connection, and the moment they show a hint of distance or hesitation, you immediately pull away. You stop replying. You put on the mask of the untouchable stoic. You tell your friends, "I'm just focusing on myself right now. I don't care about them." You confuse emotional death with stoicism. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius did not teach men to feel nothing. He taught men to feel the raging fire of existence and maintain their discipline despite it. Stoicism is the mastery of the flame, not the extinguishing of the furnace. When you choose apathy, you are not being a stoic. You are being a coward hiding in a bunker while the war of your destiny rages outside. I need you to visualize the visceral, horrifying reality of what this fake apathy is doing to your biology. I want you to imagine the inside of your own chest cavity. Imagine your heart. It should be a massive, powerful, violently red muscle, pumping hot, golden blood to every extremity of your empire. It should be scarred, bruised, and beating with a terrifying, aggressive rhythm. But because you have spent years saying, "What does it matter?" your heart does not look like that. Imagine it encased in a thick, heavy block of cloudy, gray ice. Wrapped tightly around the ice are rusted chains of irony and cynicism. Your heart is barely moving. It beats once a minute, a slow, pathetic, agonizing thud. Instead of hot, golden blood, it is weakly pushing freezing, thick, dark sludge through your veins. You don't feel any pain, it is true. The ice protects you from the sting of rejection. It protects you from the humiliation of failure. But look at the cost. the ice has also completely paralyzed your ability to feel triumph, obsession, and the magnificent godlike friction of creation. You have successfully insulated yourself from the agony of defeat, but you have accidentally locked yourself out of the arena of victory. You are a biological corpse, walking through the motions of an average life, comfortably numb and profoundly dead. You must understand the absolute arrogance of this apathy. You are walking around treating your life as if it is a rehearsal. You treat your time as if you have an infinite supply of it hidden in a vault. You shrug your shoulders at your own potential because you believe that someday, magically, the real you will wake up, break the ice, and start caring. But the universe does not owe you a sudden surge of passion. The universe does not negotiate with frozen hearts. While you are sitting in the corner, rolling your eyes and pretending not to care, the men who are willing to look like fools, the men who are willing to sweat, bleed, and fail publicly, are taking the territories that rightfully belong to you. They are claiming the gold. They are sitting on the thrones. They are not smarter than you. They do not have better genetics. They simply possess the raw, terrifying courage to care. They are willing to stand naked in the freezing wind of the arena and say, "This matters to me, and I will be destroyed before I surrender." To build an empire, you must become intimately comfortable with the feeling of embarrassment. You must fall in love with the sting of caring too much. You must become the man who tries too hard. The modern world despises the man who tries too hard because he is a walking mirror reflecting their own profound laziness. When they see you sweating, when they see you obsessed with your project, your physique, or your intellect, they will try to drag you back down into the ice. They will call you intense. They will call you obsessed. They will tell you to relax. Do not listen to the whispering of corpses. They want your heart to freeze so they do not have to feel guilty about their own hypothermia. You must reject their aesthetic of detachment. You must cultivate a terrifying, consuming, almost demonic level of passion for your own existence. If you are going to write, you must write as if the ink is your own blood. If you are going to lift the iron, you must lift it as if your life depends on moving the gravity. If you are going to love, you must love with a heavy, dangerous, inescapable gravity. Here is your micro-challenge. The hourglass is almost empty. The sand is running out. Within the next 24 hours, you are going to face a situation where your ego feels threatened. You are going to face a minor rejection, a creative failure, or a moment of awkward vulnerability. The cold, heavy grey ice will immediately begin to form in your chest. The phrase, "I don't care," will rise to your lips like a reflex. Your brain will offer you the leather jacket of cynicism. I command you to burn the jacket. I want you to physically clench your fists, look at the situation, and force yourself to say out loud, "I care about this. This matters to me." And it hurts that it failed. It will feel like a violent electric shock to your nervous system. The ice in your chest will begin to crack. It will feel agonizingly uncomfortable. You will feel exposed, fragile, and ridiculous. Endure the burn. Let the ice shatter. Because in that exact moment of absolute, terrifying vulnerability, the dark sludge in your veins will instantly vaporize. The hot, golden blood will begin to flow again. You will feel the heavy, painful, glorious rhythm of a heart that has been resurrected from the dead. You will finally step out of the bleachers and onto the blood-stained sand of the arena. Watch my hands in the flickering candlelight. I am reaching across the heavy oak table. I am gripping the thick, freezing, dusty page of Chapter 4. Listen to the violent, echoing tear as I rip it from the rotting binding of the Lexicon. I hold it over the open flame. The paper resists for a moment, and then it catches. The shield of fake apathy goes up in a brilliant, aggressive orange fire, melting the ice, turning into dark, weightless ash that drifts into the eternal shadows of this archive. The fourth lie is dead. Your heart is bleeding again, but the Hydra has one final, massive, terrifying head left to sever. This is the ultimate boss of your own self-deception. This is the phrase that hands your crown directly to the enemy. Prepare yourself. Finish the dark wine in your glass. Let the silence heavy the room. We are turning the heavy page to chapter 5, the abdication of the throne. Watch the ash from the 4th chapter drift into the absolute suffocating darkness of this archive. The ice in your chest has melted. The shield of fake apathy has been shattered. Your heart is beating again, heavy, violent, and awake to the terrifying friction of reality. But we are not finished. Do not relax your posture. Do not look away from my eyes. The ego is a master of survival, and it has one final desperate apocalyptic defense mechanism left. When the ego can no longer play the victim of luck, when it can no longer hide behind intellectual arrogance, and when it can no longer pretend it does not care, it commits the ultimate act of philosophical treason. It surrenders the kingdom. Listen to the agonizing dry friction of the rotting paper as we turn the final, heaviest page of the Lexicon. Feel the profound weight of the silence in this room. We have arrived at chapter 5, the abdication of the throne. Look at the heavy, black, Gothic ink bleeding into the yellowed paper. Read the final lie of the dead mind. It is not my fault. That is just how the circumstances played out. I want you to let those words echo in the cold air between us. It is not my fault. You use this phrase as a parachute. You use it to escape the burning airplane of your own failures. When the business collapses, when the relationship becomes a toxic wasteland, when your physique deteriorates, or when you look at your bank account and feel the cold grip of panic, your brain instantly searches for an exit door. It desperately scans the environment to find a scapegoat. You blame the economy. You blame the economy. You blame your toxic boss, your manipulative ex-partner, your childhood trauma, or the geopolitical state of the world. You build a magnificent, highly detailed, statistically accurate courtroom inside your own skull, where you play the role of the innocent, helpless martyr, and the universe plays the role of the cruel, unfair villain. You believe that by proving your innocence, you are protecting your dignity. But I am looking straight through the fragile architecture of your excuses. When you say, "It is not my fault," you are not defending yourself. You are committing the most tragic, devastating act of self-mutilation possible. You are voluntarily abdicating your throne. You are taking the crown of your own sovereignty, ripping it off your head and handing it directly to the enemy. To understand the sheer horror of this phrase, we must summon the ghost of the French philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre gave us the terrifying, crushing doctrine of existentialism. He said, man is condemned to be free. Condemned. Not blessed. Condemned. Because true freedom is not a vacation. It is a brutal, agonizing, inescapable burden. If you are truly free, then absolutely everything you are and everything you are not is your own doing. The slave does not have to worry about the harvest. The master feeds him. The slave does not have to strategize for winter. The master makes the decisions. But the king carries the paralyzing weight of the entire empire on his shoulders. If the crops fail, the king starves. If the walls fall, the king bleeds. Modern man is terrified of this weight. You are terrified of the crown. You would rather be a comfortable slave to your circumstances than a bleeding, responsible king of your own destiny. When you point your finger at the economy, or your parents, or your circumstances, and you say, "They did this to me," you are literally transferring your sovereign power to them. You are legally signing over the deed to your own soul. You are saying, "I have no power here. The economy is my master. My trauma is my king. I am just a passenger in the vehicle of my own life." Let us bring this heavy philosophy crashing down to the absolute, unforgiving reality of the kitchen table. Look at me across this dusty oak wood. Take a slow, deliberate sip of the dark wine from your crystal glass. Feel the cold glass against your skin. Let us talk about a specific, painful failure in your recent past. A project that did not launch. A job you did not get. A conflict where you felt profoundly wrong. Your mind immediately begins to generate the defense file. You want to tell me how unfair it was. You want to explain to me how the other person lied, how the market shifted unpredictably, how the rules of the game were changed at the last minute. You want me to validate your victimhood. Stop. I will give you a terrifying gift right now. I will grant you absolute, unconditional validation. Let us assume you are 100% correct. Let us assume the game was entirely rigged. Your boss was a psychopath. The algorithm artificially suppressed your work. Your childhood was a nightmare of unfair disadvantages. You were dealt the worst, most rotten hand of cards in the history of the universe. Now look me dead in the eye and answer this question. What does that validation actually do for you? Does being right put a single ounce of gold in your vault? Does your perfectly constructed, legally flawless excuse build muscle on your frame? Does your status as a certified, undeniable victim help you conquer the terrifying void of the blank page? Does the universe suddenly apologize, rewrite the laws of physics, and hand you a kingdom just because you successfully proved that you were wronged? No. The universe remains completely, terrifyingly indifferent. The universe does not accept excuses as currency. A bank account full of valid reasons why you failed still has a balance of 0. You are standing in the middle of a burning building, screaming at the fire that it was arson, demanding that the fire acknowledge it wasn't your fault that the match was struck. The fire does not care about your innocence. It will burn your flesh all the same. I need you to visualize the visceral, disgusting physical reality of what you are doing when you surrender to circumstance. I want you to imagine the obsidian throne from our previous sessions. That massive, cold, unforgiving chair carved from black volcanic glass. Imagine that you are sitting on it. You are wearing a heavy, magnificent crown of solid gold. You possess absolute authority over your reality. Suddenly, the heavy iron doors of your throne room burst open. A grotesque, terrifying beast enters the hall. This beast is blind, chaotic, and dripping with foul mud. It has no brain, no logic, and no malice. It just destroys everything in its path. This beast is called circumstance. As a sovereign king, your duty is to draw your heavy iron sword, step down from the throne, and violently slaughter the beast. Or at the very least, build an impenetrable wall to keep it out. But what do you do instead? You look at the beast, and your ego panics. You realize that fighting the beast might result in a humiliating defeat. You might get scarred. You might look weak. So, to avoid the risk of fighting, you do something sickening. You stand up from the obsidian throne. You reach up, pull the heavy golden crown off your own head, and you walk over and place it on the head of the blind ruling beast. Then you reach into the mud and pick up a heavy, rusted, spiked iron dog collar, and you lock it tightly around your own neck. You hand the heavy iron leash to the monster. You willingly allow a mindless, chaotic universe to drag you through the dirt, through the mud, and through the gravel, bleeding and humiliated. And as you are being dragged, you look around at the other slaves and cry out, "Look what the beast is doing to me! Look how unfair this is! It is not my fault I am in the mud. You chose the collar because you were too cowardly to bear the weight of the crown. You chose the comfort of innocence over the terrifying burden of power. We must invoke the absolute, uncompromising, ruthless discipline of extreme ownership. There is a fundamental, razor-sharp distinction between fault and responsibility. It may not be your fault that you were born into poverty. It may not be your fault that someone betrayed your trust. It may not be your fault that a global economic crisis wiped out your industry, but it is absolutely 100% your responsibility to fix it. If someone drops a newborn baby on your doorstep in the middle of a freezing winter night, it is not your fault that the baby is there. You did not ask for it, but the moment you open the door and see it, it is your responsibility. If you close the door and say, "Not my fault, not my problem," the blood is on your hands. Your life, with all its broken pieces, all its unfair disadvantages, and all its unhealed trauma, is that freezing child on the doorstep. You can stand there and scream into the dark night about how unfair it is that the child was left to you. Or you can bend down, pick it up, wrap it in your own coat, and do the agonizing, unglamorous work of keeping it alive. No one is coming to save you. I need you to let that sentence echo in the deepest, darkest chambers of your mind. There is no rescue boat. There is no cavalry riding over the hill. The universe is not going to suddenly realize it made a mistake and hand you a refund for your wasted years. If you are going to survive the storm, you have to build the raft out of your own bleeding flesh and bone. You have to take absolute tyrannical control over the narrative of your life. From this exact second forward, absolutely everything is your fault. If you succeed, it is your magnificent, heavy burden. And if you fail, if you remain weak, if you remain poor, you will look in the mirror and you will say, "I did this. I failed. I was not disciplined enough. I was not smart enough. I did not execute." It will feel like swallowing broken glass. Your ego will scream in absolute agony. It will feel like a humiliating, crushing defeat. But on the other side of that extreme ownership is the ultimate, godlike liberation. Because the very second you accept that you are the sole architect of your failures, you instantly realize that you are also the supreme, unstoppable architect of your future victories. The moment you take the blame, you take the power. Here is your final micro-challenge for the lexicon of the dead mind. The hourglass is almost entirely empty. The final grains of sand are falling. Tomorrow, a crisis will occur. Something will break. Someone will fail to deliver. The market will shift. Your brain will instantly compile the defense file. The phrase, "It wasn't me, it was them," will rise in your throat. I command you to choke on it. I want you to step forward, look the chaos directly in the eye, and say 3 words that will permanently initiate you into the dark order of sovereignty. I own this. You will take the blame. You will absorb the impact, and then you will solve the problem. You will rip the collar off your neck. You will step over the corpse of the beast of circumstance, and you will sit back down on the obsidian throne. Watch my hands. Look at the flickering light of the single candle on this table. I am reaching out. I am gripping the thick, heavy, rotting page of chapter 5. I am tearing it violently from the binding. But I am not stopping there. I am picking up the entire massive, dusty book, the complete lexicon of the dead mind. I hold the entire decaying archive of your excuses over the flame. The leather catches fire. The pages blister and curl. The illusions of the fixed personality, the victim, the arrogant intellectual, the fake stoic, and the helpless slave, all of them go up in a violent, roaring, brilliant orange pillar of fire. The heat is intense. The light pushes back the tenebrism shadows of this room. The book is gone, reduced to dark, weightless ash that settles onto the heavy oak wood. The lexicon is destroyed. Your excuses are dead. You are standing completely naked in the ruins of your own mind, holding nothing but the heavy iron sword of your own absolute responsibility. The only question left is what you are going to carve with it. Look at the center of the heavy oak table between us. The fire has died down. The smoke has cleared. Where the massive, rotting ancient book once lay, there is nothing left but a mountain of dark, weightless grey ash. The lexicon of the dead mind has been completely, violently incinerated. The 5 pillars of your intellectual cowardice, the illusion of the fixed personality, the pathetic anthem of the victim, the rusted cauldron of your arrogant ignorance, the freezing shield of fake apathy, and the cowardly abdication of your own throne. They are gone. They have been reduced to dust. You are sitting in the absolute, terrifying ruins of your own defense mechanisms. For the first time in years, your ego has nowhere left to hide. You are completely exposed. You are standing naked in the freezing wind of reality, holding the heavy iron sword of absolute, uncompromising responsibility. But you must understand a fundamental law of the universe. Nature abhors a vacuum. The human mind cannot exist in a state of emptiness for long. If you do not consciously, aggressively fill this void with the architecture of an emperor, the system will immediately rush back in to fill it with the garbage of a slave. The algorithmic machine, the culture of comfort, and the whispering shadows of your own laziness are waiting right outside the heavy iron doors of this archive. They are waiting for you to drop your guard so they can hand you a brand new dictionary of excuses. So, what replaces the dead words? What is the language of the sovereign? What is the vocabulary of the man who actually sits on the obsidian throne and builds the empire? You might think it is a new set of words. You might think I am going to hand you a list of highly optimized, modern, positive affirmations. You might think I am going to tell you to stand in front of a mirror every morning and shout about how powerful, successful, and destined for greatness you are. No, that is the cheap, sugary drug of the modern self-help industry. Positive affirmations, when spoken by a man who has not yet bled for his goals, are just another form of self-deception. They are the exact same linguistic parasite as the excuses we just burned, only wearing a different mask. You cannot trick the universe with fake confidence. The universe does not listen to what you whisper to yourself in the mirror. The true language of the king, the ultimate vocabulary of the man who conquers his own shadow, is absolute, terrifying, weaponized silence. Let us bring this down to the cold hardwood of the kitchen table. Take the very last sip of the dark wine from your crystal glass. Let the heavy, bitter taste ground you in this exact second. Look directly into my eyes across the candlelight. Let us talk about what is going to happen in exactly 10 minutes when this session officially ends. Right now, in this dark room, you are experiencing a massive surging spike of dark motivation. The dopamine is flooding your nervous system. You feel dangerous. You feel awake. The iron flywheel of discipline is starting to turn inside your chest. And I know exactly what your brain is desperately trying to do with that energy. Your brain wants to bleed that energy out through your mouth. It wants you to open your phone, go to the comments section of this video, and write a long, profound, highly emotional paragraph about how your life is going to change today. It wants you to text your friend and announce your grand new business plan. It wants you to post a cryptic, dark aesthetic quote on your social media about how you are entering your villain arc or your grind season. Your ego is begging you to announce your transformation to the world before you have actually lifted a single stone to build the castle. Why do you do this? Why is the modern man so completely obsessed with broadcasting his intentions? Because of the tragic biological flaw in your own neurochemistry. When you tell someone about the massive empire you are going to build, or the book you are going to write, or the physique you are going to carve out of iron, they look at you with admiration. They validate you. They say, "Wow, that sounds incredible, you are going to crush it." And in that exact microscopic fraction of a second, your brain releases a massive hit of cheap dopamine. Your brain cannot tell the difference between the social reward of talking about the goal and the actual physical reward of achieving the goal. You get the chemical high of victory without having to endure a single second of the agonizing, boring, painful friction of the execution. You eat the sugar, but you do not lift the weight. And what happens next? The motivation evaporates, the energy is gone. You wake up the next morning feeling completely drained, completely empty, and you do not take a single step toward the goal. You have successfully masturbated your ego with empty words. You have committed the ultimate crime against your own potential. You have traded the gold of your future empire for the cheap copper of a social media like. This is why the weak man is always talking, and the dangerous man is always silent. I need you to visualize the visceral, heavy, metallic reality of what this silence actually looks like. Look at the space on the table where the book used to be. The ashes are suddenly swept away by a cold, invisible wind. In their place, slamming down onto the heavy oak wood with a deafening, echoing thud, is a massive, raw, solid block of dark iron. It is rough. It is unpolished. It is incredibly heavy. Next to it rests a scarred, dirty, heavy iron blacksmith's hammer. There are no pages to read anymore. There are no words to memorize. There is only the iron, and there is only the hammer. When you walk into the dark, suffocating forge of your own destiny, you do not talk to the iron. You do not negotiate with the metal. You do not stand over the anvil and loudly announce to the room how sharp the sword is going to be when you are finished. The iron does not care about your intentions. The iron only respects the brutal, relentless, unforgiving kinetic energy of the strike. The language of the king is the deafening, rhythmic crash of the hammer hitting the steel. Over and over and over again, in the pitch-black darkness where absolutely no one is watching. No one is cheering, and no one is validating your existence. You must learn to hoard your intentions like a dragon hoarding gold. You must become a vault. When you have a massive goal, when you decide to completely rewrite your reality, you must lock that intention deep inside the darkest chamber of your chest. Do not let it leak out through your mouth. Let the pressure build. Let the silence become agonizing. Let the desire to speak turn into a physical, burning pain in your throat. And then you take all of that pressurized, burning, violent energy and you channel it exclusively into the execution. You let your actions scream so loudly that your words become entirely unnecessary. Think of the apex predators in the wild. Think of the great white shark beneath the black waves of the ocean. Think of the black panther moving through the midnight jungle. They do not announce their presence. They do not roar before they strike. They move in absolute, terrifying, perfect silence. The only time their prey realizes they are in the room is when the teeth are already sinking into their throat. You must become the apex predator of your own industry, of your own craft, and of your own life. You must move in the shadows. You must work in the dark. Let them think you are dead. Let them think you have given up. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk, let them gossip, let them build their paper-thin fortresses of intellectual arrogance. While they are talking, you are striking the anvil. While they are complaining about the circumstances, you are swinging the hammer. While they are proudly defending their fixed, concrete personalities, you are melting yourself down in the furnace and forging yourself into a weapon of mass execution. And then, one random Tuesday when they least expect it, you emerge from the void. You step out of the shadows, holding the finished, razor-sharp, magnificent sword of your empire, and you decapitate the entire market. You shock them into absolute silence, because you did not tell them what you were going to do. You simply showed them what you have already done. We are approaching the absolute end of our time together at this table. The final grains of sand in the hourglass are slipping through the narrow glass neck. The candle is burning down to the wax. The shadows in the archive are growing longer, darker, and heavier. I have given you the philosophy. I have shown you the anatomy of your own intellectual cowardice. I have handed you the heavy iron sword of absolute responsibility. I have poured the dark wine of the Stoics, of Jung, and of the Romantics into your glass, but I cannot drink it for you. I cannot swing the hammer for you. I am just a demon sitting across a dusty table, a voice echoing in the labyrinth of your own mind. The transition from the world of words to the world of action is the most terrifying bridge a human being can cross. It is the bridge over the abyss of the void. On one side is the comfortable, warm, familiar illusion of the victim, where you get to be innocent, passive, and average. On the other side is the obsidian throne, where you are the absolute, undisputed king, but you bear the heavy, bleeding weight of the entire universe on your shoulders. I am going to leave you now. The session is over. But before I fade back into the tenebrism shadows, I am going to issue the final sovereign command of this episode. In exactly 60 seconds, my voice will stop. The haunting music of the cello will fade into nothingness. The screen will cut to absolute pitch-black silence. When that happens, the algorithmic machine is going to desperately try to throw a lifeline to your ego. It is going to instantly populate your screen with a grid of bright, colorful, toxic dopamine traps. It will offer you another video analyzing success. It will offer you a podcast about discipline. It will try to keep you in the comfortable, warm, passive seat of the student. If you click on another video, if you scroll down into the comments to leave your empty words, if you pick up your phone to text a friend, then everything we just discussed was a pleasant, entertaining hallucination. You will have proven that you are nothing but an intellectual tourist, visiting the citadel for an hour before returning to your comfortable, rotting life. You will have picked up the ashes of the Lexicon and swallowed them. But if you are truly ready to take the throne, if you are truly ready to burn the dead mind and forge the empire, then you will obey the law of weaponized silence. When the screen goes black, you will not type a single word. You will not click a single thumbnail. You will violently, physically shut the laptop or turn off the phone. You will stand up from the chair. You will walk away from the screen, and you will step directly into the cold, terrifying, agonizing friction of the void. You will do one hard thing. Right now, you will write the first page. You will lift the heavy iron. You will draft the blueprint. You will swing the hammer in the absolute silence of your own life. The lexicon is burned. The words are dead. There is only the iron. Take your throne. Execute.